In this session, we will demonstrate the data access security controls. Data access security enables you to present different users with different sets of information based on their role. We will start out with a sample application. It's a lightweight ASP.NET application with ASP.NET membership and role providers. I'm going to log in now with the default administrator's account, username admin, password admin. What we see here is a page to manage service requests, where the user can go in and create a service request and attach it to a branch office anywhere in the United States based on an organizational hierarchy. Now, what we're going to do is use data access security to limit our users to the region where they work. So assuming we have 3 users, John, Carla, and Pat. John works in Alabama, Carla works in Florida, and Pat oversees both regions. So we will start by creating roles. We will create one role for Alabama, another role for Florida, and the third role, we'll call it Southeast. Now we add John to the Alabama role. We'll assign Carla the Florida role, and we put Pat in the Southeast role. Now, using data access security permissions, we're going to give each role permission to a certain section of the data. So I will select the role name Alabama, go to the organizational hierarchy, and here I can select Alabama, which gives this role access to all the cities in Alabama. I'm going to save it. I will do the same thing for Florida. I'll go down here and select Florida, and this will give the role access to all the cities in Florida. And then I'm going to select Southeast, and in this case I'm going to give it Alabama and Florida. Now, to demonstrate what the user will see, we will log out and log in with username John, password John, go to service request, and John here can only see the service request generated in Alabama. If he tries to create, the only branch offices he will see are the ones in Alabama. Now I will log out and log in as Carla. And see that Carla can see the service request generated in Florida. If she goes to create a service request, you can see from the organizational hierarchy she can only see the cities in Florida. I'm going to try Pat. Log in, and for Pat will be able to see Alabama and Florida because Pat is in the Southeast region. So far we showed you how data access security controls can be used in an application. Now we're going to show you as a developer how easy it is for you to apply data access security to your application. When you download the Visual Access Controls, you receive with it this sample application, and it's available in VB.NET as well as C#. Now, if we see here, this sample application includes a number of web user controls that demonstrate the use of the data access security object library. So there's one web user control for data access permissions, and then we have 4 built-in hierarchies that you can use either one of those, and then there is a module to import data as well. You can either reuse the web user controls in your application, or you can modify the look and feel of those user controls, or even create your own controls. In SQL Server, you will have to add the visual access controls tables, which includes 4 data hierarchy tables. One is called client, entities, organization, and territories. All 4 data hierarchy tables have the same structure, it's just different names. So if you look at the table, there's an item code, name, there's the item path, which comes in handy when you're doing drop down to show the hierarchy of each of the nodes. In order to implement data access security in your application, you would need to join to one of the hierarchies. For instance, if we look at the service request table, you can see that the service request has a branch ID, and this branch ID joins to the item ID in the org hierarchy. So if I do join it here to the org hierarchy table, on item ID equal branch ID, and there is, I have to move to the database and put the node name here, or its item name, and you see here how the service request is joined to the organization hierarchy. And that's all you need to do on the database end in order to implement this data access security. Now there's some additional code that you will have to add in your application. In Visual Studio, you would use a few lines of code to bind the grid to a data source and dynamically include the user permissions. The same applies when you're trying to populate a drop-down list where you use a few lines of code to limit the data that's returned by the function. The code we're showing in this demo is in C#, but as we said before, these sample applications are also available in VB.NET. We want to thank you for taking the time to view this demo, and please do not hesitate to contact our support department should you have any questions.